we have the same issue with the clients as we did in the video before with entities, right? Like we fixed this info to be user generated. But here, if I come to the client and let's see some Peter Barnaby, see again, all this stuff. Now I'm thinking maybe it should be again user generated, but we have another problem here. I could just make this in a one big structure, but imagine if I was the one creating a new client. I don't want to have to add and remember that I have to add address, to add vet ID and stuff like that, right? In the entity here, it really didn't matter because I would set it once and that was it. But in here, I would have to set it with every client that I have. Every time I would create this, I would have to then, if I create a new client, I would have to then create the structure field and add these things. So there is one solution I'm thinking, and that is to use a dynamically generated blueprint that we can do in Kirby. And basically what we are going to do is we're going to create this structure field that we use in here. We're going to create on the clients, so on the parent, and then use that to generate the fields inside the client. So anytime we change the structure field, we change the fields we want for each client, we're going to change it everywhere for everyone at the same time. Let's go to our client's blueprint. And I guess we're going to replace or kind of a mimic the entity. So we have this years and info. So maybe we can have clients and info as well. For that, we're going to need tabs. So I'm going to create a tab. Let's call this one clients. And yeah, just move the section in there. And watch out for the indentation. And I can delete this, whatever. And then the other one, that's going to be info. We need sections. So we're going to start sections. We call this section info again. This shouldn't conflict, I think. And this is going to be type fields. And fields is going to be like so. And then in this one, we need a field. It's going to be structure field. And let's also call it info. Again, I think this is not gonna bum us or gonna conflict somehow, but we can maybe copy it from the entity. So let's see, and that was this info. It's this info. It's the type structure like this. So let's maybe just copy it in here. Of course, yeah, this should be fine. Info type structure fields, and we have the same fields as before. So let's see. Oh yeah. Now, I think we actually don't need the text. We're going to need different fields though. And the ones, basically this is not going to be the actual data. This is going to just be the builder basically for these fields. So what do I need in there? Well, I guess I need ID. I need label. I'm thinking I might need required, which is going to be kind of a mind-boggling because I'm going to be, yeah, and actually I should probably put some of these as required. So for sure label and ID, and then required doesn't have to be, but it's going to be just type toggle. So this is going to be kind of weird, right? Because we need these, like I need here in the structure, I need to say, if I create the structure, let me refresh. If I create the structure, if I create the structure, I have to say, okay, this is going to be ID. This is going to have the label. These I need for sure. And then the required is basically saying if the fields in the client, if this field is going to be required. Anyway, Let's just keep these free, but this is not related to these. Yeah, just whatever. It will make sense. And let's create some of the fields. So yeah, I have to probably have the address again. I'm going to have that for sure. Let's just copy that and label it. And I need the address. And I'm going to also need VAT ID. It's going to be VAT ID. This is going to be also required. And let's just keep these two, and let's try to make the blueprint right now. To find more info about programmable blueprints, you can go to Kirby, and there is a cookbook for it. And there is a nice kind of a info in here, but I will just give you the short version. First things, but this is feature that can be pretty risky because like people can create, they will be able in the panel create PHP code in a way. So there's a big possibility that they could like kind of get out and do something and break your panel. So watch out for that. For me, for us in here, this is not the case. It doesn't matter at all. And actually for most of the websites I create, it's just the admins. It's not public. It's the people managing the website they actually want it to run. So they wouldn't also try to break in, but your situation might be different. So watch out for this. But the other thing is, as with lots of these things, we have to use and register this blueprint inside the plugin. So it's not possible just to create, instead of in these pages, we cannot just create something entity.php. We have to actually register it in a plugin. And there are multiple things you can do with it. We're going to use this field, kind of a similar approach to this field group with dynamic fields. Now, one other thing about these dynamic fields or programmable blueprints, they sometimes seem that they are kind of very useful, but then they're not so much. Like they are useful for a lot of things, and this is the perfect example, but they're not silver bullets. So it's great to know about them, but in practice, I actually don't use them that much. Let's make the plugin. That's basically just a folder. Let's folder inside the plugins folder. I always call the plugins the same way the project is called, so then it's obvious that this belongs to the project. So let's call it Invoicekit. And we have to create index.php. So I'm not going to go too much into plugins. There are other places that I've talked about them, but yeah, basically always the index.php is loaded. And in here we can define our plugin. So Kirby is going to load this, and we have to create Kirby plugin in here. I'm going to just use the magic of copy paste from here because we're going to use pretty similar code. Let's delete this. And this way we register a field, and we're going to register a field that then we're going to extend from inside our client. So let's change this to Kirby School, and maybe this one, that's going to be Invoicekit. It doesn't really matter. These are just boilerplates when you kind of make, namings, and yeah, boilerplate for plugins when they are going public. And let's call the field somehow. Let's call it maybe just client info. I don't like this, but yeah. Inside in here, you cannot use dashes because Kirby PHP will not swallow it. So usually I use camel case. But in here, there are actually issues with some file systems that kind of Mac doesn't like. It's not taking the camel case naming of files really well. So I just use slash. It's weird, but yeah. And yeah, I just copied this, and this follows Kirby's kind of convention that you follow in the plugin, you follow where it would be in the site, which makes a lot of sense to me. So let's create a file. It's always a good idea because then maybe you add files, stuff like that. It becomes messy. So let's just start with the right architecture. quote unquote fields. And yeah, this will create our folders. And inside in here, I can create client info.php. Let's hook it up using something I call a bomb. And that's where you just die in in the PHP. And basically what should happen when we load this, actually we touch the code, it should all die. If I come back in here, nothing is happening because Kirby is not loading this. And that's because we don't have it anywhere. The client info field is not used anywhere. So let's go to our client. In here, we can take any field. So let's just take maybe this address. We are not going to use it. Info. And let's call it info. And then extends. And this should be fields. And it's client info. Now, this is exactly the same string as in here. So double check. We are just going to load it. And if I come in here and refresh, we've died, basically. Yeah, because we have this die in here. If I delete it, we're going to just get empty field. But what it will allows us to do that in this file, we can do something, some magic, get the structure and create fields out of this. It's not going to be that hard, but let's start one by one. Let's first get our client's structure somehow. So in here, we basically don't have that much to work with because this is a plugin and I cannot just like I can get site, but it's hard for me to rely on like getting content. Like I could do, let's DD site. Let's see if we have it. And we have to use the helpers here in here. Let's refresh. And this way I have this DD means dump and die. It's kind of nice for prototyping like this. And that's because I have some helper for debugging installed. But anyway, so I have a site, but maybe I could use page and then use the ID of the clients, which would be, I guess, test clients, right? But so I would get the clients page, but I don't want to do that because this would be really not like, I can't do this. This is kind of, right? Anybody can make it, like call it anything. So let's do site. It's going to be a lot better. We're going to just use site, children. So I'm expecting one level. So the clients have to be just inside the site. And then let's find by, because I want just one. If I was using filter, I would get collection and whatever. I just need one. And then I use intended template. And let's use clients. So let's see, and maybe to see it better, let's just title. Okay, we got clients title. So we got the right page. So cool. So let's get these clients page. Nice. Right now, let's maybe come back to the end and just let's see some field that we generate. Just let's mock it. The way this works, we basically do this kind of similar thing. If this was kind of a field group, right, we would be using type group, and this would be the YAML. What we need to do is just use the return in PHP array that is kind of nested in a similar way as the YAML. So we would use type group like so. And then in the group, usually what you do is you do fields, right? And then in the fields, we would define our fields. So we create fields, and this will be again a nested array, right? And these are going to be the fields that we define. So let's try something just like it has to have a key, so it's gonna be, I don't know, I can't do title, I can't think right now. Let's do car. I don't know why. And then the car would be type, right, of text, and let's say label. Nice. Car. Let's save. Let's see what's gonna happen. There is a syntax error somewhere. I don't know where. Oh, this was it. We have to semicolon this one. So we got nice car. It's good, right? So what's cool about this, of course, it's like YAML, so we could do car 2, and we would have these. And this is cool, right? But this is not much different from the YAML. But what we want is to take these clients page, get the structure, and create the fields out of this one. First, we're gonna, I don't like how it looks. We actually don't need the columns at all because we're gonna just overtake everything with this one. So let's do maybe just like sections. We can call it, I don't know, it can be called whatever, main. And we can delete all these. Come back. And we have these 2 nice cars. Perfect. And now we start with fields. And we're going to put nice fields in here through our structure field. So we have this client's page. We can actually just for each, like this. Again, the same thing, structure to structure. And this will be, I guess, item or maybe field. It's a better name for it. And yeah, and we need the field ID as kind of what we want. So that's the key. Let's come back in here and look at the clients in here. So we have the ID and basically want to show address and vet ID. So what we would do in here is fields, and here the ID of this will be field ID, I hope. And then this field ID, right, similar to this. So we got address. We need type, which we just gonna keep as text. So let's do text. We can maybe change it in the future. That's kind of interesting idea, but let's keep it like this. Let's do label. Label is gonna be field label. And let's do, there has to be semicolon in here. And the last one is going to be required. And it's going to be required because we are saving this, right? This is on is the required field in here. So it's going to be required just to be sure to bool. Sometimes this is required as well. Also, sometimes you need to do value. We're going to see if it's going to work or not. I'm never sure when actually we need the string to be string or where not. But let's go back to Peter Barnaby and we have a problem. The problem is that we have the client page. Of course, we still need to get the structure field. So it's called info. So this one we do as a structure as a field. Let's refresh. We get this nice car, nice car. That's of course because we're still returning these cars. But if we are lucky, we can maybe just do this and use fields. See what's going to happen. And we got the fields. This is insane, right? This is great. Also, don't forget the fields are named the same as they were before. So yeah, the reason why they're already pre-filled is that we already have these in the Peter Barnaby. This has been always saved there. So when I saved them and named them the same, the values were still there, right? Kirby will not delete the values. You will in in the content folder if you don't have it in a blueprint, which also is often really nice. But you can also get lots of this ghost data that you didn't delete. So there are ways about it where you can like clean up the project and just have everything that's not in the blueprint to be deleted. But in this case, that's why it happened. In this case, what we've done, if I come in here to the clients and to the info, and I maybe switch one of those fields, I'm gonna just open a new pen with this. Now that ID is not required. When I do required on, it is required again. If I add a new field, let's call it first name, and let's call it first name like this. Come back, I have a first name. And this way, if I create something, I want it to be required, I can just click in here, make it required, and as person that's gonna create the client, they have to create it like this. So this is super useful for us. It's like a little builder for the client's info. We could go crazy with this, maybe like offer a switch for the type of the field, and you could create select fields. Like we could create select field that would allow you to give options for the select. In here, we could create like toggles and stuff. I don't think actually when I'm looking at this, I don't think I need that. It's going to be all mostly text. It's just all text basically. So text inputs. So two things I want. One is I would like to make this maybe a little bit nicer by just giving it width. It's fine. And then width, I'm okay with. We don't need any crazy kind of columns or something. And the other one is going to be, I want to change this. I need to change this to text area because I need multi-line input on some of these. So let's start with it. We gonna create type, right? It's gonna be field type. So type and type of type is gonna be select. Maybe we can use toggles or whatever, but let's use select. I'm gonna have just two options. One is gonna be text, and the other one is gonna be text area. It's kind of really heady when you have like basically, yeah, we're going to have a structure inside it. We are going to define a type. It's going to, yeah, change the type of a field that we generate somewhere else. But I think you can understand this. If I come here and I am able to select a text, and address probably is the one where I want it to be text area. I'm going to move up and put both of these as a text. Save this. It's good. And then I need to change it in here. And we already have the type. So I think we can use just this field type. And if I come here, offset type legal, I think this is the case where value is going to help us maybe. Yeah. So for some reason, kind of the labels and like, yeah, I think if I deleted this to bool, it would have the same problem. So some of these are kind of picky. So I think label will kind of automatically convert everything to string, whereas the type really requires the string, and we are giving this field object, so it doesn't know that it can convert it. So we have to use value. Now there is a little issue in here as well, that if I unselect something, I don't know what's going to happen. Probably it's going to, yeah, it's going to be invalid field type. I think we can create or like this into text as the default, which works perfectly. That's really nice. And yeah, I'm pretty happy about this actually. Let's add the last option, and that's going to be width. And we're gonna, let's maybe for a change, let's use toggles. And the new one that I really like actually. And I don't think we can use like 1/2 like this. We will have to convert it. So let's say full, maybe like so. Sorry, 1/1, half, third. We might not even need a third, to be honest. So with that, come here with select 1/1, 1. Yeah, there should be one. Should be 1/2 like so. 1/1. It didn't change for some reason. 1 2 1 3. I think when we refresh, it's gonna be fine. Yes, this is just the label. It's not the actual value. The value we're gonna get is full, half, third. I think you can use this as the key, right? I think it will just break. So, or I worry about it. So we have to do something in here. I think we can use the PHPs. So we basically have to assign, and it's gonna be match. So there's this match function that you can use that's like super nice. And let's use field with, and just to be sure, let's use value. And what we can do is basically it will return, yeah, and also this has to be like that with. So we're setting on this field, it's going to be the same ID, so basically the same object, and we also set the width directly. And then with the match, basically it's really nice. We can say full, and instead of returning full or something, it will just, if this will match with full, we will return, basically set the width as, actually don't know, it's nothing maybe, I don't know. Yeah, if it's gonna be half, we're gonna do this, gonna be third, gonna be this. Let's see, all kinds of kind of handling around. Okay, yeah, it worked. So that's perfect. So I'm a little bit surprised. I will probably want just to set everything as half, so it will be kind of more compact. Cool. And what's also nice, we can probably also sort it like so. Perfect. So I think we can do a lot with this. And this is nice little neat trick that allows you to have, for this kind of purpose, really nicely little builder for the client's info. And it's a lot nicer than for me, than as a user, than to be having to change the template and maybe not be able to update afterwards, because this like data is a little bit different, right? So this is perfect. And yeah, a nice trick with programmable blueprints, I think.